Succulents, also known as fat plants, are a family of plants characterized for tolerating prolonged droughts and being able to survive in very arid places, such as deserts. This thanks to their ability to retain and store water in their leaves and stems. Among the most recognized families of succulents are Cactaceae, that is, cactus. These plants have a wild beauty, exotic and lively colors, which when added to their easy maintenance, makes them an excellent option for decorating different spaces.
Why are cactuses so well liked? All of us have had cactuses since we were little. Children like them more than adults or adolescents. A lot of people are very attracted to them, but there are others that say that they can give you cancer, that the spines can do whatever, and they make up thousands of stories. People can either fall in love with cactuses or hate them. Some hate them because of the spines, and some love them because of their variety of shapes, of their small size, for their ease of care. Because it's the type of plant that if you forget to water it, it won't die. But if you can take care of it, it will be grateful and always beautiful.
Curio cactus. There are approximately 200 genuses and 2,500 Cactaceae species. This without taking into account the numbers of natural hybrids and hybrids created by growers around the world.
I've grown cactuses at home since I was a kid. As a child, I would go to the flea market and get cactuses. When I went to sell at a flea market for the first time, because I got the permit to go to the flea market, I arrived and set up shop with my cactuses, and a guy said, "That's my spot." He came over and told me to move over there. When I was setting up at the other spot, its owner arrived. Until someone came and told me to set up here since this is no one's spot, and I've been going to the flea market for 30 years. When I came to live at the farm, I had the opportunity to have a greenhouse, and we initially grew garden plants. And with the partner that we had, he traveled all over the country and would bring different species of cactuses. And we started expanding the greenhouse. And lately, we've kept only the cactuses and got rid of the other species.
All cactuses are native to the American continent. Little by little, they've spread to other parts of the world. They have become increasingly popular as interior plants, both with and without flowers, and in the most varied of shapes, sizes, and colors.
It is believed that on his first voyage, Christopher Columbus brought the first cactus to Europe, a melocactus. In Mexico, it's said that Mexico City was founded where an eagle was perched atop a prickly pear. And to this day, you see the eagle perched on a prickly pear on the flag and in maps of Mexico.
Succulents originate from various parts of the world, many from Mexico, some from Africa, and a few from Europe.
In Colombia, we find cactus from the Guajira, in the Guajira Desert and in the Tatacoa Desert. A lot of good species are grown, much appreciated by large-scale farmers. We can't say there are great differences or that there is a marked difference between cactus and succulents. Nature provided both species with a system to accumulate water for times of drought. In cactuses, the leaves turned into thorns or needles. There are even some species where the needles prevent radiation from affecting the cactus too much. Among cactuses, there is a difference between desert cactus and jungle cactus or epiphytes. Here we have, for example, a ripsalis, which is a type of jungle species. These are longer species that hang from trees. They even accumulate more humus because they are attached to the trunk. The desert species are more globular, even longer species. They can accumulate up to 98% water. And in succulents, the leaves and the stems accumulate water.
Based on their varied shapes, cactuses were classified as primitive, opuntias, tropicals, columnars, and globulars. Seed propagation.
Seed propagation is the easiest, and it's the way to grow the most plants at once, but it takes the longest. After flowering, they sprout different types of seeds. Some sprout a little globe that holds the seeds inside. Others sprout a shaft and the seeds are inside the shafts. If planting by seed, then in a growing medium, you plant the seeds. But it's much slower because the plants can take up to 3 years to reach commercial size. You cover them lightly with a little bit of dirt and wait for them to germinate. You can't predict how long they'll take to germinate because some species can take up to 15 or 20 days, and some species can take up to a year to germinate.
Curiocactus. Blue or tequila agave is a type of succulent plant that flowers once in its life and then dies. The heart of this plant, or what is called the pineapple, is used to make tequila, a well-known Mexican alcoholic beverage. Propagation by cutting.
For succulents, as for cactus, you take out any cutting. We're looking for a healthy and vigorous plant. You remove the cutting, you leave it out so that it scars completely until it forms a callus where it won't get direct sun, but where it won't get wet. You leave them alone until the scar heals completely. Then you can, here we have, for example, a type of euphorbia that was already trimmed, and we see all the offshoots it sprouted. This one hasn't been cut. If we're going to propagate, we simply cut. This is a type of euphorbia because it gives off a milky sap when you cut it, as you can see here. After making the cutting, you can wait a week to plant it.
You must be careful with the sap from this variety of cactus. It can cause irritation in the eyes and skin.
In succulents, we do the same. They grow offspring. You simply cut them from the base of the plant. You can leave these out fewer days. Sometimes we extract them with the root, sometimes by themselves, and these others too, any offshoot. So we can see that it's much easier through offshoots than through seeds.
Planting of offshoot.
The growing medium must be porous. It's not true that you only plant them in sand. The ground must be well fertilized, containing sand and fertilizer, that when you squeeze it, it forms a little ball. But when you open your hand, it becomes loose again. Not that you squeeze and it becomes a ball of mud or crumbles completely. We were saying that you leave the offshoot to dry long enough to form a callus. This one is ready to plant. Then we simply fill the pot with soil. You compact it a little, you open a little hole for the offshoot, and you finish planting. Now to wait for it to grow roots, and that's it. So after planting, the watering has to be very measured. If you water recently planted cactus too constantly, what will happen is they will all rot. So it has to be very little. And as the recently planted offshoots start to grow more shrubbery, you can then increase the amount of water.
Curio cactus. An interesting fact about cactus is that many people place them close to electronic appliances such as computers and televisions, with the idea that this plant will absorb electromagnetic waves.
Electronic radiation can cause people irritability, lack of sleep, headaches. Then you place the cactus near the computer. They absorb the energy through the needles like a type of antenna. And the day you water them, they will let out the energy they have absorbed.
Transplants.
When performing transplants, the earth must be a bit dry, not too wet. You tap the edge of the pot, and when the plant comes out, it goes either into a prettier pot, or, if we're simply passing it, to a larger pot. We also slightly open the little hole and the plant goes here.
It's important to keep in mind that the size of the cactus must be proportional to that of the pots, since as they grow, it is necessary to transplant them.
If the pot is a clay pot, the roots tend to stick to the edges. So, with a knife, we stick in a knife to dislodge the roots. If the pots are plastic or they are made of porcelain, the roots don't stick as much. Then, it's just a light squeeze on the side so it comes loose. A light tap on the sides and the whole plant comes out, and we place it on the larger pot. We put a layer of soil on the bottom so it doesn't sink too much. When transplanting, we shouldn't cover the stem too much, because if they're too covered, you can get rot here along the stem. We have finished covering it with soil, and we compact it lightly.
To finish it off, you can adorn the plant by adding decorative stones.
I traveled on bicycle all the way to Patagonia, and it was sensational because I found small cactuses that I could only see because I was traveling by bicycle, and I spotted them on the side of the road. And I also found cactuses that were 7-8 meters tall that you couldn't take in all at once. I saw places where they worked cactus wood, which is the most spectacular thing I've seen because it's wood with holes and spectacular details. It was a beautiful trip, since this is what I like. Unfortunately, since I was on a bike, I couldn't bring anyone along, but I did see very interesting things along the way.
Curio cactus. Cactuses also bear fruit. The Opuntia ficus indica species, also known as prickly pear, is a plant that can grow between 5 and 6 meters tall and also produces delicious edible fruits known as Indian figs or tunas. Care.
They adapt to all conditions. They can endure use and abuse. It's also not true that they don't need water because they're from the desert. They need a certain amount of water. In countries where you have seasons, during winter, cactuses stop their metabolism and shouldn't be watered. Even just a little bit of water every month is sufficient. During summertime, when there is an abundance of metabolism, they can be watered daily or every other day. We don't have seasons here, but if you place them under the sun, they should be watered more than if they were indoors. For most people, they rot because they water them indoors, and they don't take them out to the sun, they don't evaporate excess water, metabolism is slow, and the plant rots.
Because the great majority of cactuses come from semi-desert regions, some people think that it's not necessary to fertilize them frequently. But that is not the case. You must keep in mind that each species has different nutritional requirements depending on its growth stage. Plagues.
Cactuses are not very susceptible to diseases, but it's common to find mealybugs among the leaves. There are other species that give them a type of scale, something like this. When they get this, and it's not too severe, we can scrape it off with a blade. We remove the scales. If there is a lot, we can try a soapy solution. We mix a little liquid soap with water and make a solution, and we apply it. Another way is with nicotine. We macerate a few cigarettes and apply that liquid. And lastly, an insecticide.
Diseases.
Among the diseases, you find botrytis, which is rot. It normally starts from the stem up. When we see it's rotting, we can immediately remove the offshoots, and we can sometimes save some of the little offshoots that the rot hasn't reached yet. Sometimes the whole plant can be saved. In this case, the rot is already too high, but sometimes we can take it off and until it's all gone, and we can rescue some of the plant. This is due to excess water. The important thing is that when we water, we leave them where they can air out and get good light so that excess water can evaporate.
When trying to grow succulents, it is of great importance to make sure that it's fresh, in its proper pot, and free of plagues and diseases. Also, one should keep in mind the commitment one has acquired, since you must provide the necessary conditions so that the plant can successfully adapt to its new location.
Always look for someone who, if today or tomorrow the cactus doesn't thrive, he can tell you what happened and why. People come here that from the get-go, you know they are going to grow cactus. So we tell them, take this species since it's rare, or try this or that. I don't believe that there are secrets to this. There are things that are more species that are harder to grow than others. But amongst us growers, we exchange varieties. It's great when people come buy the plants, when people say, look at this new species, I don't have it yet, and all that. Or when people come and say, look, I brought you a new variety that you don't have and all that. Then we start to reproduce them. Right now, the fashion is, when there's a wedding, a birthday, or a baptism, instead of sending just the card, they send it with a plant as a keepsake. It will stay in people's memory that they got the invitation, but a plant that is well taken care of will accompany us for many years of our lives. Now, in very hot climates, people are making tableau or living walls with succulents.
Succulents are some of the most interesting botanical groups. They originate in the American continent and evolved 30 to 40 million years ago. These plants are notable not just for having developed amazing adaptations to water scarcity, but also for their extraordinary variety of shapes, colors, and flowerings. So many qualities make them the object of love and admiration, and inspire a lifetime of work and dedication from experts, amateurs, and onlookers.
I like everything about cutting offshoots, planting, and the many types of plant species there are that I practically don't know about. Let's see. The cactus here, well, they are not everything. That is, here we are making a living from cactus, and we live for the cactus. Like I'm saying, in all my trips, I see cactus everywhere. Tiny cactus, barely visible through the weeds, and when I noticed one and stopped to look, unfortunately, I couldn't bring them along. But just knowing that there are beautiful species in the best places imaginable. What type of snake was it?
Honor thee, cactus, silent peak, apex and testament of an eternal agony. Yolanda Westphalen.